Coming up on today's show, I'm going to share with you guys 5 players that have the most to prove at Cleveland Browns OTAs, which will get started sometime early next week. We'll go through the whole schedule with you in just a moment. But OTAs are a funny thing because they're voluntary, and some of the big J's of the world get super worked up when star players do not report. And I'm old enough to remember last year when people got really upset Myles Garrett was not there, and then he won Defensive Player of the Year. So they're important, but at the same time, they are not the end-all, be-all. But here is the Browns' OTA schedule. They've got organized team activity, voluntary practices, May 21st to the 23rd, 28th to the 30th, and then June 3rd to the 6th, with mandatory minicamp coming June 11th to the 13th. So here are 5 players that I think have the most to prove at OTAs to make sure they have their roster spot locked down or their spot on the depth chart. And we'll start with quarterback Tyler Huntley, because right now Tyler Huntley is right in the middle of a 4-way-ish quarterback competition. Like after Deshaun Watson, you've got Jameis Winston, Tyler Huntley, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and Jacob Sermon, who was the UDFA they signed following rookie minicamp to their roster. And Winston, with the guaranteed money, he's pretty well established as this team's backup. But so was Josh Dobbs last year, and we saw how that changed when he got traded. But Huntley has very little guaranteed money, so he is someone the Browns could easily move on from and it not cost him a whole lot, which means I think the real focus should be for him competing with Dorian Thompson-Robinson to earn that third quarterback spot on the roster, because I think the Browns are going to take 3 quarterbacks onto their active 53-man roster. I don't think they're going to do the 2 quarterbacks and put one on the practice squad game. I think they want a 3-quarterback room, which means I think it's between Huntley and DTR to earn that third spot. And the Browns drafted DTR, so he may get the benefit of the doubt. Ty may go to him if it comes down to it. So it's up to Huntley to make sure it does not come down to a tie. Now, which quarterback do you think gets moved on or cut? Like, remove Jacob Sermon from the conversation because that's a really easy answer. I guess you can go with that one if you want. But between DTR and Huntley and maybe Jameis, seems very unlikely. But if I was standing here a year ago and said Josh Dobbs is going to get traded, you would all laugh at me in the comment section. So it's the NFL. Crazy stuff does happen. Second guy to watch for at OTAs, let's go with wide receiver Cedric Tillman. He's not on the hot seat. Like, he is not there trying to earn his roster spot. Of course, everyone is in theory, but when you're a third-round draft pick, you get a bit of a longer leash than other players. But Cedric Tillman is on this because last year the production, I don't think was there or where it was where the Browns were hoping it would be after Donovan Peoples-Jones got traded. I mean, remember, in that press conference, they name-dropped Cedric Tillman as someone who will have a larger role with DPJ gone. And Tillman did not really make the most of that, but he's still really young. It was his rookie season. I think it's way too early and premature to define a player because of just what they did in their rookie year. But I think he's on this list because he needs to earn his spot on the depth chart, right? You've got your top 3 wideouts, Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore. And then after that, you've got a good battle going between Cedric Tillman, David Bell. Michael Woods comes back. Remember, he unfortunately popped his Achilles last year training. Rookie Jamari Thrash, Jalen Darden, James Prochet, some UDFAs being added. Like, it is open season after the top 3 wide receivers. I would say Tillman's the current leader in the clubhouse, but that's mostly just because of where he was drafted. So he needs to quiet the wide receiver seekers in the fan base. There were a lot of people that wanted the Browns to go out and get a wide receiver in round 2 of the draft. I remember telling you guys, don't put your eggs in that basket because I think the Browns are a lot more content with their wide receiver room than the average fan would believe. But it's up to Cedric Tillman to make sure that the Browns do not regret maybe what they did last year. If you go back to 2023, the Browns passed on DeAndre Hopkins. And I wonder if Andrew Berry could do it all over again if he would go down that same path. And I remember once in a press conference, Andrew Berry shared that he keeps like a diary, a journal of some of the mistakes and successes he's had as a GM. And he likes to look at that to not make the same mistake twice. So I wonder if there's a good wide receiver on the free agency market this summer. Andrew Berry decides, I want to bring him in because last year I put a lot of faith in DPJ and Tillman and Bell. And it didn't work out as well as I would have hoped. And I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. Whereas if Tillman has an awesome showing in OTAs and minicamp, that thought creeps through Barry's mind. He'll go, no, I do like what I saw at Tillman in the month of May and June. Third guy that has the most to prove at OTAs, Siaka Ika, the fellow third-round pick from last year along with Cedric Tillman. Ika is on this list for a little bit of a different reason than Tillman. Ika's on this list because I think he needs to actually earn his roster spot, right? The production level between Ika and Tillman was not jarringly different last year. Tillman got way more opportunities. He played like maybe, 500 more snaps, somewhere in that ballpark, than Siaka Ika did last year. Maybe not 500, but a lot more snaps. Whereas Ika was a healthy scratch up until the final few weeks of the season. But the wide receiver room is not nearly as jam-packed and full as the interior defensive line is. Because all of a sudden, Siaka Ika is battling with another young player, rookie Michael Hall, for a draft pick. They also drafted Jawan Briggs in the 7th round from Cincinnati, competing with him. They signed Quentin Jefferson in free agency. They re-signed Shelby Harris and Maurice Hurst. There are a lot of players competing for only 4 spots last year. That's how many interior defensive linemen the Browns took. Maybe 5. But if no one gets injured, you can already identify who the odd man out is, right? You got Dalvin Tomlinson, Shelby Harris, Quentin Jefferson, Maurice Hurst, Mike Hall. Those 5 guys I think are making the roster, which means Ika really has to push for a roster spot. I think he's a bubble player. I think Siaka Ika is a bubble player, and unless injuries pop up, it'll be on him to earn a roster spot rather than just feel like he has one gift wrapped for him. So definitely keep an eye on him during OTAs. Although this is not the best time to evaluate defensive linemen. There's no contact really, right? These aren't like hardcore practices, so it's a little bit unfair, but still, he has to at least come in and show that he's still in good shape and didn't just spend the entire offseason eating hot dogs. 4th player to watch for, I'm going to go with linebacker Devin Bush. I know I've been very critical of Bush this offseason, and I probably need to tone it down a little bit. So, Devin, if you're watching, I'm sorry. I was a big fan of your game coming out of Michigan. I thought, well, now I'm just doing an apology letter to Devin Bush. But anyway, the reason why I've got Devin Bush on this list is because the former 10th overall pick by the Pittsburgh Steelers has not lived up to the billing, of course. The Steelers let him go after his 4 years of his rookie contract were up last year in Seattle. He only started, I think, 3 games, appeared in 13, didn't make a whole lot of impact. But I think Bush is on this list because he needs to fend off rookie linebacker Nathaniel Buki Watson for that starting 3rd linebacker spot. Now, in all reality, we'll probably see a lot of just 2 linebacker sets. But still, Bush does not have a whole lot of guaranteed money attached to his contract. So if he does not have a good OTAs and minicamp and training camp, the Browns can move on from him pretty scot-free and insert a rookie linebacker in Watson, who, if Watson impressed all OTAs and minicamp long, that'll make that decision a whole lot easier for Andrew Berry and the Browns. Now, before we get on to the next player to watch for, off-the-wall random question for you all. First Browns jersey you ever got? I know it has nothing to do with OTAs at all, but it is fun to see everyone's first Browns jersey. For me, Jim Brown. So let me know the first Browns jersey you ever got down below. 5th and final player at the most to prove at OTAs, I'm going to go with second-year cornerback Cameron Mitchell out of Northwestern. 5th-round pick last year. He played pretty well, I felt like, at times, although if you caught that one pass in the Seahawks game for what would have been a pick 6, that would be another win for Cleveland, but I digress. I think Cameron Mitchell finds a spot on this list because the Browns cornerback room, I think, is one of the best rooms on this roster. Denzel Ward, Martin Emerson, Greg Newsome are all 3 players that I think would start on nearly all other 31 NFL teams. Denzel Ward and Martin Emerson, pretty much certain on all 31 other teams. Newsome on majority of those other 31 teams. So why are we talking about Cam Mitchell then? Because I think Cameron Mitchell needs to show and prove to Andrew Berry, listen, you can trust me and the other backup corners that if something happens to Denzel Ward, who has always missed time in his NFL career, unfortunately, or Greg Newsome, who has run into injuries throughout his NFL career, that we can fill in no problem. You don't have to worry. You don't have to stress. You don't have to go to a veteran free agent. Trust your gut. Trust the guys that you drafted, the UDFAs, us youngins, and we can hold down the fort if needed. So Cam Mitchell, I think, needs to show and prove to Andrew Berry that he can do a good job as a backup cornerback and as a starting quarterback if needed. Because if not, I mean, Andrew Berry does not mess around when it comes to cornerstone positions. Quarterback. We saw what he did to upgrade at quarterback, traded for Deshaun Watson. Offensive tackle. He picked up Jed Wills' fifth-year option. He extended Jack Conklin. He drafted DeJuan Jones. Cornerback. No one saw the Martin Emerson draft pick coming. They just drafted Greg Newsome the year before. They just drafted Greedy Williams in the second round not long ago. But he loves cornerstone positions. So if he's not confident in the backups at the cornerback spot, don't be surprised if he brings in a veteran. That will do it for us on today's episode, though. We're going to bring on Trizzy Trace to pick a card. Which card do you want to go with, Mr. Gerard?
I'm liking the 7 of clubs.
7 of clubs. I'm going to go with the Queen of Spades.
How you feeling?
Queen of Spades. Get your comments. Your
guess your cards.
Comments. Don't be afraid.
I see 6 of clubs, 9 of diamonds, 6 of clubs, 7 of hearts.
Here we go. Ready? I said Queen of Spades. What'd you say?
7 of clubs.
Yeah, not even close. 4 of clubs. 4 of clubs. I guess kind of close. 4 of clubs. All right. That will do it for us on our show today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you're not subscribed, I invite you to go ahead and do so. Help us continue to grow here at the Cleveland Browns Report. We're knocking on the door of 35,000 subscribers. So join one of the fastest and largest Browns YouTube communities out there.